Hello, everyone, and welcome to my final mock draft of the 2025 NFL season. And this one, I'm going to do my very best to try to get as many picks correct as I possibly can. And I'm also going to allow trades should the board fall in a way that I think would facilitate a trade. This is only going to be one round, though, so try not to take the actual draft capital too seriously. It's more of a proof of concept or, something along those lines, just to say, hey, I think this could be a spot where a trade happens. These are the two teams I think it will be. The trade comp doesn't technically matter for this exercise, so that is any pre-disclaimers out of the way, and let's just get started. At number one, I think it's Cam Ward. I think everyone at this point can pretty much accept that it's Cam Ward. Of course, I am still not the biggest fan of Cam Ward, but by far and away, he is the best quarterback in this draft. So, Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward. Wouldn't be shocked if they trade Will Levis on draft night to like the Steelers or something, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, number two, the Cleveland Browns. I think this is another pick that is fairly set in stone. At least a lot of people think it seems to be, and based on what I've read from insiders on Twitter, of course. Based on what I've read on Twitter and some stuff I saw the other day on NFL Network, I think it's pretty much a given at this point that Travis Hunter is a Cleveland Brown. And then it gets a bit more interesting at 3. I think there are a number of different ways that the Giants could go. They could go Shedeur Sanders. They could go for a tackle or trade or something, but I think to hedge my bets, to try and get as many of these picks correct as possible, I'm going to go Abdul Carter at number 3, and then I'm going to do Will Campbell at number 4. I think 4 is where it gets really, really tough to try and figure out what's going to happen at 4. I've seen Ashton Genty, I've seen Armand Membu, I've seen Mason Graham, I've even seen a couple Jalen Walkers. But I think Will Campbell is just so athletic and so incredibly, ridiculous as a prospect that a team like the New England Patriots, who really need to shore up that offensive line to protect Drake May, I just don't think it's worth passing on that. And then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 5. And again, it's like, I think a lot of people have Mason Graham here at this spot. And it's hard to say what consensus or how correct consensus is going to be for this class, just because it is so volatile. It's a class that doesn't really have a lot of superstar talents, right? Like, you have Carter, Hunter, and Genty, and then you got a lot of players after that I think will be starters in the NFL. I think they will be very quality starters in the NFL, but I don't think there are a lot of guys in this class that you look at and go, oh, this guy's going to be a multi-time all-pro or anything like that. So that's why I also think there's not going to be a lot of trading. But if one does occur, we'll talk about it when it shows up. So anyway, all that to say, Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then Ashton Genty to the Raiders. Now, this top 6, I think for the most part, seems like a lot of people's top 6. So, nothing here is overly surprising, I don't think, to anyone. Of course, a lot could change, right? In the next 4 days, a lot of stuff could change. So it's still, up in the air. Nobody knows anything, and whatnot. But yeah, I think this is a lot of people's top 6, and I'm perfectly comfortable making it my top 6 as well. Number 7 is where we're going to get a little weird. I'm giving Tyler Warren to the Jets. A lot of people have them taking Armand Membu, and I understand why. Armand Membu is crazy good, but I guess it's just a hunch, really, more than anything. But the Jets have been so long without a tight end that's worth anything, and they just lost Tyler Conklin to free agency, so I have no idea who their tight end is right now. But they have Justin Fields. Justin Fields loves to use the tight end, so Tyler Warren to the Jets. The Panthers is also where things get different on my end, because I'm going to give them Shamar Stewart. A lot of people have them going Jalen Walker, and I like Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker is a very versatile player, and definitely has a lot of places he can play, but I think they're looking for something different in Carolina, so Shamar Stewart at number 8. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints. I think this could be Will Johnson. Maybe Will Johnson falls a bit. Who knows? Of course, tackle could be another one. There's maybe a possibility that the Chicago Bears, who also need a tackle, could jump the Saints with the Carolina Panthers. That's one trade scenario I could see. Not that it matters, of course, because I am going to be giving them Will Johnson. The Chicago Bears, this is where Armand Membu goes, and I think this is a perfect pick for the Bears. I wouldn't be shocked if there is a trade that happens on draft night. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Bears to try and go up and make sure they get Armand Membu, especially if Will Campbell ends up going to the Patriots. I think this would be just a phenomenal pick for the Bears to get Armand Membu. I think that's just perfect on every level. Speaking of perfect picks, this is a trade, so we're going to go here. And again, don't think too hard about what this is going to look like, because it might look a little weird, depending on what you value and where you value it and whatnot. If I can find... There they are. So, I know the Packers are not typically a very aggressive team, but I do want to preface, and this is purely hypothetical, just because it's not necessarily logical to think this way, but the Packers are hosting the draft this year, and the Packers I feel like are a team that is kind of in win now mode, because they got the quarterback that they think they can win with. It's just a matter of getting the rest of it together, and they play in a division that is absolutely terrifying in the NFC North. So I think the Packers could get aggressive, and you'll see why in a second. So we're going to do our best to make this look okay. We'll do 23, 54, future 4, 159, and I don't know, just some other junk. This might be a bit of an overpay, but 11, 138, 277, and a future 7. And there's also the possibility that we dump 11, 23, 54, a future 4, and we throw in Christian Watson, who's on the last year of his deal. There's a number of different ways you could make this trade work, but just for the hypothetical, you could throw Christian Watson in here, but maybe you don't want to see that. So it is what it is. I don't think I can actually remove Christian Watson from this trade. So the package looks a little weirder, but let's see, can I? Yeah, I can't. So I have to bear with me for a second, because I have to do this, and then do this, and then we go back, and we get Packers, so 23.54 for 11, future second, for 138, future 4, 159, and a future 6. I'm just eyeballing it again. Don't take the values too seriously. This is more about where the Packers are picking and not where the Packers are picking and who they're going to pick here in a second, more than it is about actual trade comps. Because trade comps are just ridiculously hard to predict. But, something like this, I think, could be in the realm of possibility. It doesn't mean that this is what's going to happen. But anyway, all of that nonsense out of the way. Let's get this trade done. And the Green Bay Packers are trading up for the privilege of taking Tedor McMillan before the Cowboys get there. So that is why they're trading up. That's why they're being aggressive. They need the alpha wide receiver. They need a number one guy, especially in the NFC North that has guys like Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore. The Packers need a guy like that if they want to be competitive in that division. So Tedor McMillan, welcome to Green Bay. The Cowboys now, Ashton Genty's gone. Will Johnson is gone. Tedor McMillan is gone. It's getting scary. It's getting scary for the boys. However, with the board falling the way it does, I think they go Michael Williams. And then I'm going to get weird again at number 13 because I'm going back to my roots in my mock drafts. If you watched some of my earliest mock drafts on this channel, Malachi Starks was a lock for me for the Dolphins, and I still think that it very well could be now. Even as things have transpired, as different players have risen and fallen on the draft board, I still believe Malachi Starks has a strong chance to end up in Miami. The Colts at 14, Tyler Warren is gone. I don't think they're super huge on Loveland. I don't think this is a spot where you'd take Jihad Campbell, So I think this is going to be Tyler Booker at 14. The Falcons at 15. I think this is Jalen Walker. Just because, the Falcons have ignored edge rusher for such a long time that, I think I think we can lock the position in for Falcons this year. I don't think we can lock in the player. But Jalen Walker, I think, would be a huge get for them. Very versatile player, of course. Can play a lot of different places on the defense. And I just think that would be a very, very solid pick for them. The Arizona Cardinals, with the way the board has fallen and who is available, would it be out of the realm to say that they could go Luther Burden? I don't think so. I don't think it is entirely impossible. Yes, they drafted Marvin Harrison, I get that. Behind Marvin Harrison, who do they have? Greg Dortch? Michael Wilson? I'm not a big believer in those guys. I'm sorry, but I'm not. So I think I'm going to, I'm going out on a limb. I get that. I'm basically gambling here. This is essentially gambling. But I could see a possibility where the Arizona Cardinals draft a wide receiver in the first round for the second year in a row. I could honestly see it. Don't shoot me, don't shoot the messenger. I am, I'm in a position where, if you want to get the whole draft right, you got to be a little bold. You got to be a little bit bold to get it right. And I don't think Luther Burden is out of the realm of possibility for the Cardinals. For the Bengals, it's 17. I think this is a defensive player. I think it's an edge rusher. I think it's Donovan Ezeraku. I am a huge believer in Donovan Ezeraku. I said so in a mock draft a couple months back. And since then, he has risen dramatically up the boards. I had him going to the Eagles a lot. I still think he would be phenomenal for the Eagles. But, as the board is falling now, it's just probably not possible for them to get him. He could be a trade, I guess, but we'll see. Donovan Ezeraku, of course, is not the most powerful edge rusher. He's not a bull rush kind of guy. He's a little bit smaller, but, he's got all the technical skills. He's got all the mental skills. He's got the instincts to be a phenomenally good pass rusher in the NFL. And I think as a complement to Trey Hendrickson, I think he would work phenomenally well, especially because Trey Hendrickson is, getting up in years. He's 31 years old. He wants a new contract. There's no guarantee that they're actually going to keep him. I think Donovan Ezeraku is a guy that you can keep and have as a starter for 10 years. I really do. I think he is a quality player. I think he's going to be a great NFL player. I think that's a good spot for Donovan Ezeraku. Now, the Seattle Seahawks need guard. Desperately they need guard. But, of course, their GM has said guard is super overdrafted. With that being said, I think they're going to draft Kelvin Banks with the idea of playing him at tackle. He can play tackle. He can play guard. It's a matter of how it works out. But I think Kelvin Banks to Seattle is a very solid call. I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility to see that. So, Kelvin Banks to the Seahawks. Now, the Buccaneers, for a long time, I had this as a lock as Jalen Walker. I've switched, and now I think it's Jihad Campbell. I can't remember the name of their guy that's been there for a billion years, the inside linebacker. But I think Jihad Campbell would be a phenomenal replacement, a great replacement for that guy, whose name is slipping my mind at the moment. I apologize, guy. Bucks legend, whoever you are, I deeply apologize for forgetting you. But you guys all know who I'm talking about, of course, if you're watching this video and you watch the NFL. The guy on the Buccaneers that's been there forever. Don't remember his name. My apologies. But, I think Jihad Campbell could be a very good pick for the Bucs. This could also be, a corner like Jahdae Barron or something, but I think Jihad Campbell makes a lot of sense. For the Broncos at number 20, I'm going to get maybe a little controversial here. I'm going to say this is Amarian Hampton. I think there's a distinct possibility that Amarian Hampton goes much higher than this. But with how the board is falling now, this is what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. This is my belief that Amarian Hampton will be a Bronco. It could also be a wide receiver. Could always be a wide receiver. But right now, my gut, my instincts, everything within me is telling me that it will be Amarian Hampton. For the Steelers at 21, I understand Shedeur Sanders is there. I get it. I am not a believer in Shedeur Sanders. At all, really. I like Jackson Dart fine enough. I think he's a perfectly capable bridge quarterback in the NFL, but I think the Steelers have learned their lesson with Kenny Pickett, so I don't think either of these guys are going here. With how the board has fallen, I think this could be a phenomenal place for a guy like Kenneth Grant to end up. Just because that team is getting super old defensively. TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith, I think, is the youngest of those three at 27 or something. But it's just, I'm not in the highest belief that that team is going to have much going for it in a few years if they don't address it now. So Kenneth Grant to the Steelers, Colston Loveland to the Chargers. This could be another spot for Amari and Hampton. Could be, very easily. Colston Loveland, though, is a former player for Jim Harbaugh, and I think the connection between him and Justin Herbert would be very, very fun to watch. For the San Francisco 49ers now, trading down, they will select Derek Harmon out of Oregon to bolster their defensive line. Now, the Vikings, I think, are the most obvious trade-down candidate in the entire draft right now. They only have 4 picks, and that's not good. So, for what I'm thinking here, they need a trade-up partner, but the problem, of course, is that it's way harder to find people that want to trade up, and especially in a class like this, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of trading in the first 2 rounds, maybe even not in the 3rd round. But, as I understand it, the Chiefs are a team that is looking to get into this range to go and get a tackle. So, again, don't think too hard about what the draft comp looks like. So, 24 for 31, 66, and a future 3rd, and like 133 and 257, and another future 7, or something like this, I guess. Just eyeballing it. I don't know. I think this is fine. So yeah, something like this. And again, this is only round 1. This is purely just a proof of concept. But we are going for we're going to try and go for as accurate as possible, meaning player and pick. Team is kind of less important. I'm mostly going for player and pick. So, I'll review this at some point after the draft, right? And we'll, tally up our score. But, if Will Johnson goes at 9, but not to the Saints, I'll count that as a point. If the whole pick is right, I'll count it as 2 points or something like that. I'll figure out the scoring later. But for now, the Kansas City Chiefs are taking Josh Simmons. The Houston Texans are taking Gray Zabel. The LA Rams could be an interesting one. The Rams don't necessarily need defensive line players. They have a really good defensive line that they've built. Offensive line is something that they could address for sure. Tight end is another one that, they could go for something there. Even wide receiver maybe is entirely a possibility. But it could also be a trade down candidate. Who knows? Depending on who's here, I think this could be a great spot for Jahdae Barron, actually. You know what? Jahdae Barron, welcome to the Los Angeles Rams. The Baltimore Ravens, another one that I think could use a Jahdae Barron type. A lot of people have been giving him Nick Emanwari. I'm not super sold on that idea at this point. Emeka Ibuka could also be a decent shot for them, but I'm not going to do that either. I think for me, the Baltimore Ravens are going to go for James Pierce Jr. Of course, there have been some off the field issues with him, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't sound overtly serious. It sounds more like a work ethic kind of thing. Of course, I could be completely wrong. I don't want to defend a guy if he's got, some super messed up shit going on. But I don't think it really deters them at this part of the draft to go and get him. The Lions now at 28. This could also be another edge rusher. If James Pierce Jr. didn't go here, he could go here. What I do know about the Lions, though, is they are very, very much against drafting guys with serious allegations against them, like Mike Green has. So I don't think this is a Mike Green kind of pick for them. I don't think it's a wide receiver. It could be a guy like Walter Nolan. Could be. But I think the safest bet for the Lions at this part of the draft is to give them Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State as a Kevin Zeitler replacement. I think they could go like wide receiver or something later. For the Commanders, this could be another one that's like maybe offensive line, something like that. But it could also be wide receiver. And I think, in fact, it will be wide receiver. Because they have Terry McLaurin. That's great. Behind him, not so much. So this, I think, is Matthew Golden. Just because. The Buffalo Bills, I think, is Emeka Ibuka. The Minnesota Vikings, I think, could be, like, sneakily a running back pick. Like, it may sound weird to some, but, like, Aaron Jones is 31 years old. Jordan Mason is not the answer. It could also be, like, a guard. This might be early for both of these two guys, and Tate Ratledge and Charles Grant, but I think all of these guys are going to be very good guards at the NFL level. I don't think there's anyone here that would switch to guard, really. Yeah, probably not. But I'm also just now realizing that I forgot Josh Connerly was there, and I should have given Josh Connerly to the Ravens, actually. And in fact, you know what? Josh Connerly, welcome to the Baltimore Ravens. So that means that Donovan Jackson goes here, and Matthew Golden goes here, and Ibuka goes here. Okay, just fixing that up. I like that a lot better, in fact. For the Minnesota Vikings, I think they don't need edge. Walter Nolan could be a solid pick for them. Could also, again, sneakily be like running back. Darius Alexander's a guy I really like. It's like, I understand they brought in two guys, right, for the defensive line, but they're both old, and they don't really have notable replacements behind them already on the roster. So I don't follow this too much at all. If it's not Jahdae Barron and it's not Malachi Starks, I'm not taking a safety in the first round. I'm not super sold on a lot of these corners either. I think they're mostly second round kind of guys. Yeah, like these are mostly second round kind of guys to me. Maxwell Harrison, maybe. But I'm not. Like, they have some young guys at corner that I think they're fine rolling out and giving a shot. And they just re-signed Byron Murphy, too, so I don't think they're super into corner. And, like, inside linebacker, Like Carson Schlesinger could absolutely sneak into the first round. Like, without a doubt, Schlesinger could sneak into the first round. But not to the Vikings, I don't think. I think they're fine with who they have there. So I think I'm going to go for the defensive line, and I think I'm going to give him Darius Alexander. I think, someone's always going to sneak into the first round that you don't expect, and I think this is a good spot for him to go. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions, this could be essentially anyone, but as it stands right now, the name that sticks out to me the most is Walter Nolan. Again, if it's not Malachi Starks, it's not Ja'Day Barron, I'm not taking Nick Emenwari. I don't think, like, they could go James Pierce. I don't think they'd go Mike Green. Like, Mike Green is obviously a very good football player, but he has some very serious allegations against him that, as I understand it, has turned a significant number of teams away from him on their boards. And if the allegations are true, I wouldn't want him on my team either. But, of course, that's just me. James Pierce could be in play. But as I look at this, I think I'm going to go Walter Nolan. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my final NFL draft of 2025. Of course, the draft is in a couple days' time. It is on Thursday. This should be uploaded on a Monday. Hopefully, if I remember, this should be up on Monday. No later than Tuesday, though. So, this should be up on Monday. The draft is on Thursday. And, I'll either do some reacting, maybe on Twitch. I don't know if I can figure out how to set that up. I might do some draft reactions on Twitch, or, I'll be on Twitter, or I'll just do a recap video later down the line for this channel. So, I hope you enjoyed, of course, as always. I thank you very much for watching. I hope to speak with you all again soon, and goodbye for now.